Welcome to Fantasy Football Live, presented by Ram Trucks. Andy Behrens, Matt Harmon, Tera Roberts. I'm Jason Fitz. For the next hour, we will get all of your questions answered. We'll make sure that you know everything you need to know about what's going on in the wide, wide world of the NFL with all of the actives, inactives, roster questions answered. You can hit us up, hashtag AskFFL. You can get out there. As always, we are in this situation now where we got Scott Pianowski out on Twitter, reading, getting some of your questions in. And you can also chime in on the YouTube chat. We'll answer some of those as we go. It's week 6. We've got bye weeks, we've got chaos, and we've got London games. In fact, as we speak right now, there's a whooping going on, just a thumping going on as the Chicago Bears are up 35-10. Caleb Williams, 218 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Andy Behrens, resident Bears fan. Did you do anything special? Was there like tea and biscuits early this morning? Like, how did we celebrate this?
There's always tea and biscuits around here. No, this is a sweet morning, Fitz. I'm not going to lie to you. A Bears victory Sunday morning is pretty thrilling for me. Great game from Caleb. Despite one hellish misfire, everything else has looked really good. If you're out there producing NFL power rankings and the Bears are not at the very top of your power rankings after this week, come on.
I think on one of these shows, somebody recently told you just keep buying Caleb Williams. Things like it's going well. Matt Harmon, how do we feel about Cole Kmet essentially becoming the new great tight end in the entire NFL this morning?
I mean, great tight end, great long snapper. Cole Kmet's been doing everything this morning. And actually, I mean, that's what I've liked about this performance from Caleb Williams so far. I know it's kind of frustrating for fantasy trying to figure everything out in terms of distribution, but they've gotten everybody involved here. You know, Cole Kmet has the 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen has 2 touchdowns. Nobody has more than 5 targets on this team. You've seen Odunze on some crossing routes. They tried to get DJ Moore a little touchdown. He was just short of the goal line. DeAndre Swift still running the ball well. So I think they've cut out a lot of the ancillary players in this offense. They're just mostly focusing on the main dudes. That's been good to see for Caleb Williams, Shane Waldron, and the entire Bears offense.
All right, let's take a look at actives and inactives today. Caught me peeking at the Bears game a little bit. Let's see what we've got here. We've got Joe Mixon. He's going to be active. He's had that ankle injury, but he will make his way back to the Texans this week. Brian Robinson Jr. not going to be active today. Couldn't practice this week. Got a knee issue. Anthony Richardson not going to start for Indy. He had actually been practicing throughout the week. Get another week of Joe Flacco and Rachaad White not involved today. He will be inactive for the Bucs. Looking at some later games, we've got Jacoby Myers. He's doubtful. That's going to be a rough receiving core for the Vegas Raiders. No question about it. It's pretty much Brock Bowers, Trey Tucker, and not much else. What else do we have here? We got Devin.
All right, so you see the inactives here. We've got a lot of questions going on, but number one here, as we get Anthony Richardson that you just saw is going to be out, that means we get Joe Flacco. The question is going to be, what does that mean for Flacco moving forward? What's that mean for Indianapolis in this game? Never thought we'd be looking at the Colts-Titans as a big juggernaut game to keep our eyes on. Let's get into some of the big storylines that we've got in week 6. I think we're all back together. You know, modern technology. Suddenly creating total and complete chaos, dogs and cats living together. I don't know what's going on anymore. Let's get to some of the top storylines for week 6. Harmon, what do you got for your favorite storyline this week?
Yeah, talk about something we didn't expect to see. Week 6 here, maybe the best matchup on the slate is a game between the Washington Commanders and the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, we expected Baltimore to be good, but Washington has been a surprise team. And I think we could have a real electric shootout brewing here between Washington and Baltimore in this one. Little battle of the Beltway. Shout out to them. These are the number 1 and 2 offenses in EPA per play right now. These are the number 1 and number 2 fantasy quarterbacks in this game right now. And obviously, both of these teams run the ball extremely well. I think we know and recognize that. And obviously we've discussed a lot about Jaden Daniels and his efficiency as a passer. But what we saw last week from Baltimore, I think, is a pretty critical thing here. People don't recognize they're also a top 5 passing offense in a variety of efficiency metrics. And you saw last week when you kind of take you let Lamar take the reins. It doesn't really work out with Derrick Henry early on as a rusher in that game. They have a lot of guys that they can get the football to in this offense. Like Rashad Bateman can make plays. Zay Flowers can get loose downfield. I know, it stinks for fantasy, but they have 3 tight ends now with Charlie Kolar getting involved here. So I'm excited to see a lot of points potentially in this matchup because these are 2 secondaries that also struggle to stop the pass.
I think you're being kind when you just say secondaries. These are 2 defenses that may not even show up. It's going to be video game football. I'm in for every second of it. All right, my favorite storyline for this week, keep hammering Kyler Murray. I don't care what happened last week. Look, I'm into usage, right? And I'm into opportunity to get a lot of numbers. What we know is that the Cardinals defense, a little bit up and down. Now, it's easy to look at it and say, hey, last week, there wasn't much out of Kyler. I don't care. This is an up and down NFL. We know this. The only way the Cardinals are going to win games is if they get a bunch of production out of Kyler Murray. I still like the fact that he's using his legs a little bit. I think there's opportunity for that to grow as he has to scramble around to make plays. And frankly, as he finds more ways throughout the course of the year to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the football. This is the beginning, not the end of where this offense is going to end up. And I feel like every time there's a bit of a down moment, people freak out about Kyler Murray. Look, the video games are put away. He's going to be just fine. The numbers are going to be huge for him. I still think Kyler is a big bet throughout the course of the rest of the season. Andy, give me a storyline that you've got your eye on.
Yeah, we got a lot of young running backs getting chances across the league this week. And I think I'm most excited because Bucky Irving breakout week is upon us. Tell a friend, build a DFS lineup around Irving right now. What a day. Irving has been one of the most electric ball carriers in the game this season. He's averaging over 5.5 yards per carry, but that rate doesn't even really tell the story. Irving has given us a few absolutely ridiculous, cartoonish highlights this year, and he is just getting started. This week, for the first time, he should step into a featured role for the Bucs. Rashad White dealing with a foot injury, not going to go. The Saints' run defense has actually been one of the league's stingiest, but Irving has already delivered big plays in difficult matchups. I cannot wait to see what it looks like when he's getting 15 to 18 carries instead of, say, 8 or 9 carries. And he's a very capable receiver as well. So this is a guy with a full skill set. This game really has the potential to flip the backfield, I think, for the Bucs moving forward.
Bucky riding high after watching his Ducks do what they did last night, too. Let's keep that Oregon momentum moving forward. Tera, what do you got your eye on?
I appreciate you guys saving the best storyline for me for last. It is the rookie debuts. So get excited for it for Spencer Rattler and Drake May. I mean, I was anticipating that I was going to be excited for Drake May's eventual start, and I was definitely ready for it. I was not anticipating being pumped about Spencer Rattler. That was a little much, but regarding Drake May, on the surface, it feels like it doesn't really matter because the Patriots' offensive assets have been very, unusable for us outside of Ramondre Stevenson this fantasy season. Heading into the season, we knew that their receiving core was going to be one of the weakest in the league. However, there could be some promise here. There's some opportunities, some late picks, maybe some Spencer or some waiver wire ads that could pop up here if he does breathe a little bit more life into this offense. And then when you head over to New Orleans, it's interesting because there's so many assets that are extremely usable in that offense. And so we worry what's going to happen to all of these fantasy players that we love now that we have Spencer Rattler stepping in. Derek Carr got off to that strong start, but, he's not necessarily struggling recently, but the volume hasn't been there. He hasn't exceeded 250 passing yards in a single game this season. We've been, on a little bit of a watch alert here with Chris Olave and his fantasy value. So maybe Rattler can step in here, provide a little bit of an uptick for this offense, a little bit excitement in this offense, bring some fantasy assets back to us that we have been missing, and then keep things going with Alvin Kamara and just overall keep it going in a good matchup here.
I like to be poly-positive, but even I didn't anticipate Spencer Rattler positive talk coming in. Tera getting the A+. She gets the gold medal. She scores all the winning points where the points don't matter. All right, let's take a look at some points that do matter. Some last-minute pickups you can still get in your lineup. These are players that we still see available in a bunch of the leagues. Tera, let's stick with you since you're on a roll. Give me somebody that's out there last minute you've got your eye on.
Jaylen Tolbert. I'm a little bit shocked on this one that people didn't run out and grab him, considering he was widely available after that Week 5 breakout performance there. Tolbert caught 7 of his 10 targets for 87 yards and a touchdown, outperformed CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, that's not going to happen again here, but it is worth noting that this is not the first time that he's stepped up, and we thought there would be some kind of opportunity for him. It's not a guy popping out of nowhere. He got a lot of preseason buzz. Don't expect that level of performance on a weekly basis, but this is a guy that I feel is very comfortable stepping into this wide receiver 2 with a good quarterback, with an offense that can really get back on track and is looking to start gelling a little bit more. There's some opportunity here, and he absolutely needs to be rostered.
All right, Matt Harmon, where do you see opportunity right now?
Yeah, look, we talked about the Colts passing game earlier with the inactives and like, you know, Joe Flacco's making the start here. I was ready to make this case regardless of who was going to be a quarterback for the Colts and regardless of Michael Pittman's status, he's going to play in this game. Josh Downs is a last-minute pickup that you can make. And when we get the assignment for the last-minute pickups, we always try to stick to under 50% rostered. I thought there was no chance that Josh Downs was going to qualify for this segment. And then I find out that almost half the leagues on Yahoo, over half the leagues on Yahoo are just absolutely asleep at the wheel. This guy's 48% rostered. Give me a freaking break. Josh Downs has been targeted on 37% of his routes the last 2 games since he's kind of fully been reintegrated from that high ankle sprain that he had in the preseason. This guy is a great separator. He's going to be available underneath for, again, regardless of the quarterback, but specific with Flacco, he can get to these reads pretty quickly. The Titans put a lot of pressure on you. I think Josh Downs is going to be that layup safety valve wide receiver for Flacco in this one. He's a wide receiver 3 for me this week, and probably with Pittman being a little banged up, should be considered the favorite to lead the team in catches once again.
I love the fact that Matt Harmon is like this wide receiver nerd in every lovable, amazing, brilliant way. Because anytime you don't have somebody that's on his radar, it's like when somebody finds out you've never seen Harry Potter. They're just absolutely taken aback. There we go. Well, I love this.
If you haven't seen Harry Potter, that's actually more outrageous than Josh Downs' 48% roster. I just want to get that on the record.
Seemed part of the first one. All right, Andy Behrens, give us somebody out there that you've got your eyes on.
Yeah, I'll stick with the wide receivers. Darius Slayton is rostered in fewer than 20% of Yahoo leagues right now, and he's headed for a near guaranteed big game against the Bengals defense. No Malik Neighbors again this week. He's still working his way back through the concussion protocol. We have already seen Slayton produce a monster game in Neighbors' absence. He caught 8 balls for 122 yards, 1 score at Seattle in Week 5. Cincinnati has been torched all season, and it's kind of gotten embarrassing for them over the last month. This defense rarely sacks a quarterback. They've allowed 10 touchdown passes over the last 4 games. We want to be proactive about finding opportunities to pick on the Bengals defense. And this week, that means Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton are very much in play. Slayton has a great chance to meet or exceed last week's production. He's always been a circle of trust receiver for Jones.
I mean, it's just wild to hear. You're right, but everything you're saying about Cincinnati's defense is just, it's jarring when you think about what we expected for this team overall. All right, at this point, Andy, Tara, you guys get to take a little break. Matt, come on, hang out with me. It's time for Make Your Pick, where we take a look at some tough flex decisions that you guys have submitted. Matt Harmon's going to make all of us smart, and we'll start with a question coming from Gabriel Sancho Perez. I love that Sancho is there. Like, you don't have to put that in, in quotes. You can just go with Sancho. Hashtag AskFFL. Half PPR Superflex can start 2 of 4. Tracy, Dowdle, Sermon, Levis. What do you think?
Oh, always love it when we get a super flex question, and I actually probably feel the worst about the quarterback here. Will Levis coming off injury. We know his whole situation. I probably would like him over Trey Sermon, so maybe he's the third option. So my 2 answers here are probably Tyron Tracy and Rico Dowdle. I mean, Tyron Tracy is coming off a huge workload in his first real, I wouldn't call it a start, but his first real big breakout performance with Devin Singletary out of the lineup. He's going to miss this game as well. And he was talking about how dreadful that Cincinnati Bengals defense is. I think Tracy's in for another big night here on Sunday Night Football tonight. And Rico Dowdle, look, it's probably a toss-up between him and Will Levis. If you want to shoot for some kind of theoretical ceiling, maybe that is Levis, but Rico Dowdle looks like he's taken over that backfield. This should be a high-scoring game between the Lions and Cowboys. He's a pretty good odds in terms of like chasing a touchdown type of player.
I mean, we know Levis is going to throw the ball. It might be to a Titan. It might be to the ground. It might be to the other team. We just know he's going to throw the football. All right, Next question. I get into Will Levis hate every time I can. Ryan Moffitt comes in next. No word on if he's eating his curds and whey. Says needs 2 of 4. Josh Downs, Jameson Williams, Wicks. I'm not even going to try. Shakir. Hashtag AskFFL. What do you think?
Yeah, I talked about Josh Downs earlier. I am not a hypocrite. I will be saying that Josh Downs is the guy you're playing here. And I love that actually he's a pretty good, safe floor play. And then I think the ceiling chasing play is Jameson Williams here. Again, high scoring matchup incoming between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. So you get a nice mix of like a high floor, high ceiling wide receiver between these two. I still overall like Dontayvion Wicks, but not willing to go back to him with some of the other guys coming back into the lineup. And Shakir might not even play in this game. So it's Downs and Williams for me.
You've been in on Dontayvion a lot this year, so I'll give you credit there. One more question coming in from Westfest. I don't know if that's a bunch of Westes. I don't know. Cousins or Stroud, Shaheed, Slayton, or Tolbert? That's a lot of questions, Westfest. It's really a question fest. Hashtag AskFFL. Cousins or Stroud, Shaheed, Slayton, or Tolbert? What do you think?
Oh man, this Stroud Cousins debate is actually a pretty tough one. With no Nico Collins, I think I'm willing to go with Kirk Cousins here. Look, here's the deal. If you can pressure Kirk Cousins, you're probably going to have a pretty good game against him. If you don't, he's going to rip you apart. We saw it on Thursday Night Football last week with the way that offense is structured right now. Carolina Panthers don't put a lot of pressure on the quarterback even before Jadeveon Clowney got a little banged up. So, yeah, I'm going with Kirk Cousins over C.J. Stroud. This wide receiver one, absolute total toss-up. So I'm going to be a coward and say, actually, no, we're not going to be a coward. We're going to be bold. We're going to say even with Spencer Rattler starting for the New Orleans Saints, that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense plays so much zone coverage. They blow things on the back end. Again, they're not a high-pressure team either. We're going to play Rashid Shaheed. We're going to chase that high ceiling. We're going to chase another one of those big post routes, split into two safeties. Tampa Bay, again, plays the most zone coverage in the league. Shaheed has always been more efficient as a receiver against zone coverage. Let's do it. Let's be bold here and chase that ceiling.
Hear that, Andy Behrens? That's what it's like to make bold proclamations during the show. I like all of this. Okay, let's get a question in from YouTube, by the way. Justin Beechan comes in and says, love the content. Thanks, Justin. Need help this week. Need to start 2. Mooney, Slayton, Tolbert, or Johnson? Deontay Johnson. Thanks. Hashtag AskFFL. Mooney, Slayton, Tolbert, Deontay Johnson. What do you think?
I don't think Deontay Johnson belongs in this question. I get that he is dealing with an injury right now, but I think he's clearly the one start here that I'm definitely making. That, again, that could be a rather high-scoring game between the Falcons and Panthers. Don't expect a lot of pass rush in that one. And on that same token, I think the other guy to play here, is pretty tough between Darnell Mooney and Jaylen Tolbert to me. Ultimately, I think just the overall volume that Mooney has been getting, I will go that direction again against a team that can't really can't really defend the pass in the Carolina Panthers.
All right, keep the questions coming. Hashtag AskFFL. You can also hit us up in the YouTube chat. We'll get a ton of your questions coming in over the course of the hour as we take you all the way up to the 1 o'clock kickoff. But in the meantime, Andy, Tera, it's time for some Believe, Make Believe.
Yeah, time for a little believe or make believe in which we consider how to feel about a few players who appear to be thriving. Maybe we think it's real. Maybe we don't. Maybe we think they're good starts this week, or maybe not. I'm going to start with a little bit of make believe here. I'm going to give you Rico Dowdle. I can't tell you how liberating it is, honestly, that producer Colin from the podcast team is not involved in this show, because here I can speak freely about Dowdle. Listen. He's fine. Dowdle is fine. He's not special. He's not some secret superstar, but he's a fine player. He's coming off a 20-carry game and is clearly in control of the Dallas backfield. I'll give you that. But none of the underlying stats tell a particularly compelling story here. He's not piling up yards after contact or missed tackles, anything like that. I gotta say, throughout my many years as a fantasy analyst, one thing that has been constant is that we are always hyping the Cowboys' number 2 running back as if that guy is a screaming star who needs more playing time. We did it with Dowdle last year, even though he was not really discernibly better than Tony Pollard. We always do this with Dallas. I fought the Felix Jones wars, I remember. Look, Dowdle is not someone who's likely to beat a bad matchup. I wouldn't play him against a Detroit defense that ranks 4th against the run on the season. This is a guy we can really only start when the matchup absolutely demands it and is a gift. Tera, give the people something they can actually believe in.
Gonna give you something to believe in. I gotta say, Andy, I sincerely hope you're wrong for the sake of one of my fantasy lineups here. But for the sake of fantasy football in general, I want everybody to believe in Chuba Hubbard here. Chuba Hubbard was discussed quite a bit on the pod this week, and Matt shared a stat that I wanted to highlight here. Hubbard literally has the league's highest rush over expected percentage, and I feel like he was one of the most underestimated running backs heading into the season. The general expectation here, and maybe I was one of those people too, was that he would hold down the fort for the first 4 weeks of the season before Jonathan Brooks got in there and took over, and the Panthers offense was expected to be a complete mess. So obviously, expectations were pretty low for Hubbard. And that feeling was valid. We were correct. But then they benched Bryce Young, and things absolutely took off with the switch to Andy Dalton. Hubbard has been RB5, RB7, and RB9 in PPR since they made that switch. I absolutely believe in Chuba Hubbard. He's done it all through the air with volume on the ground. He's seen targets. It's just been fantastic, and he's an extremely well-rounded back. Quite frankly, once we do see Jonathan Brooks, it makes more sense that they'll continue to ease this rookie in coming off of the major injury. We'll still get more usage out of Chuba. So don't, obviously roll him out right now, but don't panic here, because we could still see some value out of him. I think it's a believe.
Yeah, I'll give you someone I believe in at least for 1 week. And look, if you're a receiving snob like someone on this show who gets hung up on route running or being a real receiver, then you might be out on WanDale Robinson. I get it. But he's entering week 6, averaging 9.4 targets per game. And yes, these targets are often only 3 or 4 yards downfield, but they all count the same in PPR leagues. Robinson gets that Bengals defense this week, and everything I just said a few minutes ago about Darius Slayton's situation applies to Robinson. I definitely believe in the Bengals giving up multiple touchdown passes this week and pretty much every week. Also, and this is much more important than my belief in Robinson, Daniel Jones himself is a huge believer. WanDale is very likely seeing another double-digit target total in this one. All right, Tara, give us one more player who's maybe a make-believe.
Make-believe. I've been positive thus far in this season, in the show, especially even about Spencer Rattler, but I'm about to get kind of negative here about Javonte Williams. It's make-believe. I'm so sorry. Javonte Williams is make-believe. It is what it is. It's great that he has been on the rise lately. He's operating as the RB1. He's getting decent volume. It's not significant. It's not massive, but he's had 16 and 13 carries over the past 2 weeks. His yards have improved. His yards per carry has improved. It's looking, a lot better, contributing through the air. These are all encouraging, but I just can't buy into it. His RB15 finish against Vegas, that was expected, but quite frankly, I would have anticipated a little bit more from him in that matchup. So I look at it and I'm still quite frankly kind of let down there. He's yet to show anything that makes me feel like Sean Payton believes in him. So even if I put my opinions to the side, we just recently saw, literally 2 weeks removed from Tyler Bidet getting random play in the Broncos backfield. For all we know, Audric Estime could come in here off of IR and Sean say, hey, let's give it a try, and then make things flip around. I just can't trust this Broncos offense and the run game and Sean Payton, and it makes it difficult for me to believe, unfortunately, in Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I agree with that. Javonte, one of the more painful fantasy experiences, right? Because you just stare at the volume and you want to play him, and then it's another 6 or 7 points. All right, that's our believe or make believe. Let's send it back to Fitz.
I don't know how I feel about our production staff using only pictures of Javonte against the Raiders. Whew. All right, let's turn to our fantasy game changers for this week, powered by Ram Trucks. All right, this is where we identify some of the most impactful players in one of the top fantasy matchups on the schedule. The highest total of the week this week, 52.5. That means we're talking about Detroit visiting the Dallas Cowboys. The Lions taking on the Cowboys again, 52.5. The Lions favored by 3. So when I say fantasy game changer, Andy Behrens, you say...
Oh, if you people don't still view Sam Laporta as a game changer, then you never deserved Sam Laporta. That's how I feel about it. Look, he is still the reigning tight end 1 until someone knocks him off, okay? I realize it's been a little quiet for him, but let's just please remember that he missed time in camp due to injury. He's dealt with an ankle issue in season. He's coming off a game ahead of the bye in which he actually played his highest snap share, saw his highest route share of the season, delivered 53 yards. That bye came at exactly the right moment for Laporta, I think. He's pretty clearly getting healthier. Laporta was the second most heavily targeted tight end last year inside the 10-yard line, and I think we're going to see some of those looks return eventually. Detroit is always thrown to the tight end position when they get down near the goal line. Dallas is a compromised defense right now, too, and they weren't playing all that well before they lost Parsons and Lawrence, so this is just a terrific breakout spot for Laporta. You have a few minutes remaining to buy low on this guy before he gives us a good game and reminds everyone that he is back on top.
It's take a shot if you had Andy Behrens talking about Sam Laporta on your bingo card. All right, Matt Harmon, give us who you've got as your fantasy game changer.
Yeah, I mean, great. That's cute, Sam Laporta, the whole deal. We know what's going to happen with the Detroit Lions in this game. Man, they're coming off a bye. They're going to give the ball to their running backs over and over and over again. They're a top 2 rushing offense in the league right now based on rushing success rate. They just extended David Montgomery last night. What a beautiful piece of news to get if you have David Montgomery on your fantasy teams. Like, oh man, someday they're just going to turn it all over to Jahmyr Gibbs. No, they're not. They're going to keep giving the ball to David Montgomery because he is a culture-fitting player. As Andy mentioned, this Cowboys defense is banged up, weren't all that good to begin with. They're 29th in rushing success rate allowed. How are the Lions not going to turn around, especially with Frank Ragnow, their center, punching or pushing, whatever it was, Dan Campbell to show how healthy he was? I mean, this is the Lions we're talking about here. We're talking about grit. They're going to run the football. They're going to run all over Dallas today. So both Lions running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery, they're going to crush in fantasy today.
I don't know how I feel about Matt Harmon focusing on running backs. The world is twisted in the upside down. Tara, give us your fantasy game changer.
You guys obsessed with these Lions over here, and no one is talking about CeeDee Lamb. Come on now, CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, I talked about Jaylen Tolbert early, but while he's definitely fun, CeeDee Lamb is still CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver 1. The volume has been a little bit inconsistent this season, far from what we expected coming off of last year's strong year, where Lamb was hyper-targeted at an insane rate once the Cowboys finally found their offensive groove. But that may be the case again. We're just waiting for these Cowboys to find their offensive groove. This season has been a letdown, but things are going to turn around here. We are ready to see something give here in this offense. And they're facing Detroit. It's a high-powered offense. You guys just talked about it. If there's a time for them to force feed and push volume through CeeDee Lamb, force volume through the air, it's this opportunity right here. And we're talking about this Lions defense that obviously, you know, they're strong for sure. But when the Lions put up aggressive points, unfortunately their defense suffers because teams have to match them. They're chasing points on them. We've seen it with Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf as well. And now it is CeeDee Lamb's turn to be that guy that takes over.
All right, get you a quick update. Those are your fantasy game changers. Quick update from London. Gabe Davis, the Jags may suck, but it doesn't suck to be a Gabe Davis fantasy owner today. He picks up a second touchdown of the day in the fourth quarter. Still a blowout for the Bears, but some extra fantasy points, 35-16 there. Huddle everybody up. Let's get to some hurry-up offense where we get a bunch of your questions answered with 25 seconds on the play clock. And we start with the first question coming from Rob Taylor. Full PPR, D. Johnson, Z. Flowers, P. Powers, A. Eckler, hashtag AskFFL. Andy Behrens, what do you think?
Oh man, tough question. I assume we're only filling one spot here. I'm impressed that you have apparently a better tight end than Brock Bowers, so he ends up in your flex. I'm gonna ultimately start Austin Eckler here. We got no Brian Robinson this week. I think Eckler's looked awesome this season. I think he looks a lot like old Eckler.
All right, let's go next to Mr. Harnett. I appreciate that it's Mr. Harnett. Full PPR, Moss, Breece, or D. Smith. Matt Harmon, what would you say to Mr. Harnett?
God, this is tough. I think we got to go back to Breece Hall. I guess, you know, the Bills have been a team that you can run on this year. There's a report from Jay Glazer that, defensive coordinator takes over the head coach. He's going to want to run the football. I think we stick with Breece, as gross as it feels.
All right, Terry, you're up next, and this is the Rap Kidlat Show, who says, Madison or B. Allen? What do you think?
Honestly, this is closer theoretically than it should be. I mean, the problem here is that Alexander Madison is going to be operating as the RB1, bad matchup, and yet we've got Braylon Allen, clear RB2, good matchup here. I want to lean into Alexander Madison as the lead back, hope we get a nice volume play there.
All right, Mojo comes in. Dowdle or Dobbins for flex spot in standard league, hashtag AskFFL. Andy Behrens, what do you think?
Well, I just kind of trashed Rico Dowdle in a previous segment, so I don't think I can pick him now in good conscience. I'm gonna go J.K. Dobbins here. He's been great all year. Is it an ideal matchup against Denver? No, not necessarily. But no Gus Edwards this week. I think volume is absolutely guaranteed. So give me Dobbins.
Matt Harmon, we'll get one more in. I love it when somebody gives us a little explanation. Big E, not the fair, the person says, do I start Antonio Gibson, which I started last week and he bombed, but this week Stevenson is out, or Tyrone Tracy? I love just a little flowery explanation to tell you what he's up against, Harmon.
Yeah, I like it too because I don't really need to take too long with this answer. You're going to play Tyron Tracy. Said it earlier. Look, he looked good last week as a pure rusher. The Bengals defense is terrible. I'm not trying to invest in that Patriots running game right now.
All right, we're all investing in Jaden Daniels. And in fact, how much should we be investing in Jaden Daniels? Our own Frank Schwab on a great show called Inside Coverage on Yahoo Sports had this to say about how we might need to be perceiving Jaden Daniels right now.
At what point do we graduate from Jaden Daniels as the offensive rookie of the year to is Jaden Daniels MVP of the league? Tell me who's the MVP right now. Like, if you had to vote, Josh Allen, who just lost 2 straight games? Probably not. Like, Derrick Henry's not going to get the votes because he's a running back. He's not a quarterback. If you look at what team is being affected the most by one single player, the answer is probably Jaden Daniels at this point. This is the story of the season. Jaden Daniels' emergence to superstardom from basically his first game in the NFL is absolutely fascinating. They look great. Like, he's throwing the ball well. They have a 4th and 3 and he runs it for 40 yards. Like, he is making every single play you'd want a quarterback to make. If I never told you number 5 in red as a rookie, you would think, oh yeah, that guy's probably won a couple MVPs already. Like, he's probably him and Lamar Jackson are 1A and 1B. Like, that's how good he looks. It's very impressive. Am I wrong here in thinking, again, it's early, it's 5 weeks. I understand. Am I wrong here in saying, like, at this moment, Jaden Daniels is the MVP of the NFL?
Be sure to check out Inside Coverage. In the meantime, God can save the Queen, but God can't save the Jags. 35-16 in London. It's a final score. Caleb Williams, 226 passing yards, 4 touchdowns and an interception in that. Trevor Lawrence, 234, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Not a great day for the Jags. Like I said, they do get Gabe Davis gets a couple of touchdowns. Andy Behrens, got to check in with you, right? Bears fans, how we feeling right now, buddy?
Oh, Fitz, we're feeling good. Another signature game from Caleb Williams. This is 2 in a row that have been really good in matchups that were very friendly. But this is exactly what we want, right? We want our rookie quarterback, if you give him a good matchup, to absolutely crush it, and that's what's happened here. Really reassuring start for those of us who may have been a little bit worried about Caleb after week 1, week 2.
Harmon, do you want to quickly steal any of that joy? I mean, I'm just giving you the floor in case you want to bounce back on any of this.
No, I mean, I feel like I would be stepping on Behrens' turf, which I don't want to do. I just think it's pretty nice that, I mean, you get to see Tyson Bagent out there as the human victory cigar. That a Bagent cameo is a pretty beautiful thing there on London.
Yeah, London really wanted that Mac Jones-Tyson Bagent matchup they were getting by the end of that game. All right, let's keep it moving. Obviously, one of the biggest games of this week, Bills at Jets. I think something happened in New York. I don't know if anybody heard about it. Bills taking on the Jets. Bills at 3-2, the Jets at 2-3. Buffalo favored by 2. The under on this one, a mild 41. So when we talk about the biggest story to you, Andy Behrens, what is it in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm just here to make you feel bad about James Cook and the Buffalo backfield this week. You're welcome. Cook was a DNP in practice this week until Saturday when he returned. It's already been reported that he expects to play. However, this is a toe injury, possibly turf toe, and we have to assume there's a real chance that he's limited in this one, that the touches are limited, that he's not as explosive as usual. Behind him, we have Ray Davis, a rookie with a fun profile and some receiving ability, but he's not even averaging 3 yards per carry on the season. Didn't have a very big role a week ago. This team kind of likes Ty Johnson too, and he's been used near the goal line this year. He's been used as a receiving weapon. Basically, it's a mess. It could be a 3-headed committee actually this week, and the Jets have a quality defense, giving up the 8th fewest fantasy points to opposing backs. New York hasn't given up a notable game to a running back since Jordan Mason kind of got him in the opener. I'd stay away from the Bills' backfield this week, if at all possible. Cook is having a terrific season, but he is compromised right now, and it is a very rough matchup.
Ever since I covered Ray Davis in college, I've wanted to make Sweet Baby Ray the nickname for him. I'm just trying to make that happen here. Matt, give me your big storyline in this one.
Yeah, let's continue some Bills offensive pessimism, because I would contend that right now they might have some of the worst outside wide receiver play in the league. And there are some good things about this Bills offense. We've seen it mostly revolving around the running game, which, as Andy mentions, coming into this one is a little bit questionable. against bad defenses, I think the Bills can still be fine. They have Josh Allen. They have some pretty interesting players. When Khalil Shakir is healthy, I think they have a real needle mover at the slot receiver position. But these outside wide receivers, Matt Collins and Keon Coleman, are just giving you no separation ability right now. This is a huge issue for Buffalo. Again, Josh Allen has a stat line last week against the Texans. You almost think like, oh, the Yahoo API must not be updating, right? Like 9 of 30. That can't possibly be correct, right? What are we talking about here? But no, that is what he did. And, some of it was Josh Allen issues. Maybe he shouldn't have even been in that game coming off of what looked like a pretty rough concussion there. But a lot of this is a systematic issue in this offense right now because these guys on the outside simply cannot get open. I don't love the way that they're deploying Keon Coleman. You can't really be relying on Matt Collins as an every down wide receiver. Curtis Samuel's not healthy. Khalil Shakir might not play in this game. Dalton Kincaid has not stepped up to be like a real true number one wide receiver type tight end, which is what they were hoping to be when they drafted him. The Bills can get over on some bad defenses. They're not playing a bad defense. They're playing a good Jets defense on Monday night. I got some serious questions about how they're going to move the football in this one.
All right, it's time to bring some positivity to these storylines for the Bills anyway. Negativity for the Jets. Look, an offensive coordinator change isn't going to fix the Jets. I cannot scream this loud enough. I said before, bench all of your Jets. And at the time, everybody looked at me like I was crazy. What have we seen since then? Offensive inefficiency, inaccuracy, and offensive line that's not very good. Now they bring Todd Downing in as an offensive coordinator. Let me scream this again. I have a lot of familiarity with Todd. I watched Todd with the Raiders. I watched an offense that was good become predictable and bad. And then he became the offensive coordinator of the Titans, a team that I know because of my years in Nashville. And as I did weekly hits on ESPN radio in Nashville, everybody said, is Downing going to be the answer? And my answer to that question consistently was only if the answer is it's bad. This is not a good change for the Jets. This is not an offensive coordinator, I believe in. This offense will become more predictable. This offense will become easier to read for defenses. This offense will not run the football they need to. None of this will fix the New York Jets. So I will continue to scream, as I have for weeks, and I've been right about, bench all of your Jets. They are not going to give you the numbers that they want. Man, Tera, give us some positivity here. What do you got for a storyline?
Fitz, how can I follow that? Yeah, I guess let me whisper my storyline. It's a Breece Hall redemption week. I say redemption versus a bounce back because as Fitz kind of mentioned there, Breece Hall needs redemption here in the eyes of much maligned fantasy managers. Some have even jumped ship to say that Breece is going to lose his job. That's way too far, guys. We got to take a step back here and look at this season for what it is, beyond all the chaos. This is a running back struggling in bad matchups. He got off to a good start, all things considered, finishing his RB15, RB4, RB12. Not what we expected in terms of the ceiling, but hey, it was getting the job done. We were fine with it. We were a little bit concerned about Braylon Allen contributing more than we anticipated. The past couple of weeks have been absolutely miserable for Hall, though, with a total of 27 rushing yards on 19 attempts. That is quite possibly the ugliest thing you can ever produce. But again, bad matchups here. And this week he gets a break. Buffalo is a tough defense overall. They're extremely difficult to attack through the air. If there's one way that you want to attack them, it is on the ground. They're giving up an average of over 100 yards to opposing running backs. And that is not all that game with Derrick Henry. Running backs have consistently done well against them. Hopefully, the Jets to do the right thing here and lean on the run game in this difficult matchup and for Breece Hall to get his redemption week here.
Look, I would love for that to happen. I love redemption for everybody, even Todd Downing. All right, let's get to primetime picks. Look, we all got off the schneid finally. We got the moment. I'm going to be honest. With everybody. As you look, this is where we picked 3 different games. You see the standings. Tera's in first. Andy Behrens gets a big win, gets his first win. I fall to last place thanks to the point total. I'm going to be honest, y'all. I looked in the morning, and I was like, wait, I think I got this. Because Tera and I went into the Monday night game this close to each other, and I knew that Alvin Kamara had scored me more points than she got from Olave. I was getting cocky. I was ready to send the group text out to everybody and be like, look at who's tied for first. Only to then be reminded that Andy Behrens snuck in and stole it from us. Absolutely thievery, Andy. So, congratulations. So we're all very, very happy for you. All right, I picked
close
first.
This is. We got a contest.
We got 3 games. Detroit, Dallas, because that just looks like it's going to be fun. And then we get Bengals, Giants, barf. And we get Buffalo, Jets. Let's see how this goes. And I picked first because I'm just terrible. So I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb because I need something guaranteed. And I feel like CeeDee is the easiest pick in this. I'm not thinking about strategy. Harmon has quickly pointed out that sometimes you just got to take the best player on the board. Harmon, I'm taking CeeDee and I'm going to pray. Who are you taking?
Yeah, see, I'm an idiot and ignored that advice. Last week, I galaxy brained myself into taking George Pickens with my first round pick, and he proceeded to run his routes at 60% speed all last Sunday night, barely played at 60% of the snaps. So I'm not doing any of that. I'm taking the best player on the board here, which you barked about the Bengals, Fitz, but Jamar Chase is in a great spot against this Giants defense. His defense can't stop anything on the other side. They're going to need him to drop another banger in this one, and I think he will.
All right, that means Andy Behrens is up. Andy, what do you got for us? Coming off the win.
Okay, I would have taken Chase. That is a little bit of a disappointment, but I am going to galaxy brain this one, and I am going to target that Jets-Bills game because there's only 2 guys who interest me, and I don't want to get shut out on it. Breece Hall is going to be my pick. He's the clear, he's a clear number 1 there. Buffalo has been super vulnerable to the run. Everyone remembers the Derrick Henry game. They give up the 3rd most fantasy points to running backs, so I think Hall's probably the strongest play. I'm banking on Tera being right about this being redemption week.
Oh, you've swiped the player that Tera just told us would be redemption, which means our current leader, Tera, you are up. And Tera was right into this thing last week, too. I thought she was going to pull away. Who you got?
Yeah, you sniped me there, Andy, but I appreciate the wonderful words. Let's hope that I am right. Andy, okay, let's see. You've left me with who? I'm just going to go ahead and take Jahmyr Gibbs here. Gibbs, you talked about him earlier. Fantastic. Has yet to finish lower than RB 16 and half PPR. Dan Campbell has been talking about how it is time for Gibbs to take off. I think we saw it ascend last week, and I 100% trust him on that. This could be the signature boom week for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I feel like it's a very safe pick here. As a leader, I want to, keep making those strong, safe picks to kind of continue to stack my lead. My second pick here, and you mentioned this game is absolutely awful in terms of us picking fantasy assets here. I am going to pick Garrett Wilson with my second pick. I didn't want to do this, but again, I need to make a nice practical pick here. Garrett Wilson is the practical pick. He came off of a high volume game last week, and if they don't lean on Breece Hall, they can absolutely sit there and have Aaron Rodgers just chuck the ball and try to prove that he isn't the problem. So maybe we get a nice continuation of production here from Garrett Wilson.
All right, that puts Andy back on the clock. Who you got for us?
Yeah, I'm going to further galaxy brain here, and I'm looking at that Dallas-Detroit game, and there's 5 guys that I like. So I'm going to take T. Higgins because we can leave Dallas-Detroit for the end. I'm still going to get somebody good. Higgins is coming off a 2-touchdown game. He's seen 24 targets over the last 2 weeks. And man, that Bengals offense is just humming right now. When they have a healthy Higgins and a healthy Chase, they're so difficult to stop. I think I'm getting another double-digit target total here, and I think a pretty productive game.
All right, that brings us back then to Matt. Who you got for us, brother?
Yeah, like Andy said, I'm going to save the Dallas-Detroit game for my last pick, especially because Fitz can't take a player from that game. Hopefully then, when we revisit the history of this, I just look really good. Wow, what a steal to take this player when Fitz has to take some goofball from the Monday night game. I'm going to take somebody from the Monday night game. I don't love taking James Cook coming in with an injury, but it's just not many other great plays on the board here. So I'll take a guy who is having a great season. Hopefully he can beat that turf toe to give me some fantasy points in this one.
Well, you guys are all very right now that I have taken the best player on the board, and now I am, as they like to say, not in the best situation moving forward. Okay, I've got 2 straight picks, and I have to pick somebody, apparently, from the Bengals-Giants game, and you guys have taken the only 2 players worth taking. So I will go with Zach Moss here. This is just throwing spaghetti against the wall to see who sticks. I got nothing. I'm hopeful that, what happens is that Jamar Chase or T. Higgins gets tackled at the 1-yard line. Zach Moss gets me 6 points. That's all I'm hoping for here. And as we come around the turn, I respect the fact that you've taken Breece Hall, and I respect the fact that Garrett Wilson is off the board. Did I miss something? Because the only guy that seems to really be safety valve for Aaron Rodgers is Allen Lazard. It may not make sense to anybody, but I'll gladly take Lazard and figure that Aaron Rodgers is just going to find a way to force in a touchdown late in the game, which will steal me some points. What else am I supposed to do at this point, Harmon? Come on, you're back on the clock.
I'm going to go ahead and take a good football player here. I'm going to take David Montgomery. Like I said, fresh off that contract extension, baby. We're going to run all over that Dallas Cowboys defense. Yeah, he might end up being the highest scoring player from this whole exercise. He's my third pick. Give me a break. David Montgomery. Let's join Team Harmon here.
Wow. Okay. That feels like a strong pick. I don't know if that's the direction I would have gone. Andy, what do you could have had Allen Lazard. Go ahead.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm reeling from missing out on Allen Lazard here. You got to love a draft in the second round. Goes after Allen Lazard. This is fantastic. This is probably the greatest final round pick that I've had in the history of this competition. So I'm just gonna sit in this for a moment here. St. Brown, he scored in back-to-back weeks. He's averaging 9.5 targets per game. I feel pretty good about this one in a shootout.
Tera, we have saved the best for last. You are in first place, and you get the cleanup pick. Who you got for us?
You absolutely have. WanDale Robinson, come on home. You guys, how did you let WanDale Robinson slip to me? This pick, actually, am I being sarcastic? A little bit. But it does come with a certain level of confidence because I am starting WanDale Robinson in a league this week. So, and it kind of is out of desperation, but not really. I kind of believe here with Andy. Robinson has had a minimum of 9 fantasy points and half PPR every game this season. We've got no Malik Neighbors. They're going to have to throw the ball to keep up. So yeah, the ceiling, it's been a little low, but the floor has been solid. And this could be his big breakout game of the season. I'm feeling it here. I think WanDale Robinson's going to carry me to victory this week.
I feel really confident, guys. As long as CeeDee Lamb gives me the highest point turnout we've seen in the last 3 years, I think I really have a chance to win this one. We'll keep you updated on the standings as they go, obviously. But in the meantime, Matt, Tera, why don't you give us some fantasy face-off regarding wide receivers?
Oh, man, I'm reeling from Tera picking a player who is 4th in the NFL in catches and 45th in yards. Oh, what a PPR scam WanDale Robinson is. Let's talk about a real exciting wide receiver, Darnell Mooney. I guess I'm saying that with my chest here. Yeah, Darnell Mooney has been pretty darn exciting this year, Tera. He's been super involved in the Atlanta Falcons offense. He's been getting downfield catches. Kirk clearly has some chemistry, but let's try to draw the line for some people here in terms of where does Darnell Mooney fit in our Week 6 rankings. We'll throw up some other established wide receivers against him. So Darnell Mooney, Dontayvion Wicks. That's our first face-off here. Wicks is a guy that we were excited about last week, Tera. He obviously did not come through. A lot of questionable drops, maybe some misfires from Jordan Love as well. Let's spread out that blame a little bit. But again, are we going back to Wicks, or are we sticking with what we've seen from Darnell Mooney lately?
Yeah, oddly enough, as soon as you get off of a boom bust player like this, he will boom. But I still would prefer to go with Darnell Mooney on this one. The differentiating factor for me between Wicks and Mooney, it's not even Christian Watson as much. It's the fact that Mooney has actually shown consistency and upside at the same time. Outside of week 1, where the Falcons offense was a little bit of a mess, Mooney has had a very reliable floor here, especially for a wide receiver 2 in an offense featuring a running back that we drafted in the first round and a wide receiver that we drafted extremely high. I feel like I can trust Mooney to not completely blink me. We've talked about the matchup as well against Carolina. It's ideal. So I do trust him a lot more than Wicks here, who is just naturally boom bust. So again, this could be the boom week, but I'm taking Mooney here over Wicks. How about you?
I mean, pretty crazy when we're talking about 2 wide receivers, and Darnell Mooney might not be the most mistake-prone player in the debate, because Darnell Mooney might be the most mistake-prone player in the entire league at the wide receiver position. But I think I'm with you here. Obviously, with Wicks, he's, as you said, 100% going to go off in this game because everybody started him last week. Everybody dropped him. He's going to go off in this game. I get it, but I think Mooney is probably the play that makes a little more sense with some of those Packers wide receivers coming back. Let's stick on that boom-bust theme and throw up Jameson Williams here against Darnell Mooney. I know you've always been really high on Jameson, so between these 2 players, which one are you going with here in Week 6?
That's my boy, and I am going with Jameson. I know it feels like he's been boom bust, but like when you break it down, he hasn't been that much of a boom bust player. Again, we had that one big week 1 boom, but then again, with the exception of that weird game against Arizona, he's actually been a reliable wide receiver too. It just comes in a variety of different ways. Sometimes it comes with a deep ball, sometimes it comes through volume, but it's good to see that he has a wide variety of ways that he can reach a certain wide receiver 2 level here. So again, when we're looking at these guys, I feel like they're honestly very similar in terms of being wide receiver twos on their team, good offenses, opportunity here. So when I'm looking at them and comparing them, I want to take the guy whose matchup could see a little bit more volume here, and I feel like that is Jameson Williams in this matchup.
I'm with you. It feels like a big Drake London week here in this Panthers-Falcons game, so I'll go with Jameson Williams with you on that one. A lot of good reasons from you, so we'll just stick it there. Hey, let's continue our little trip here in Volatile Valley, and let's talk about George Pickens, another very up and down wide receiver who I mentioned earlier is coming off a week that's not been enjoyable in terms of the post-game questions he's been getting. Darnell Mooney or George Pickens, week 6. Tera Roberts, which way are you going?
I feel like I should throw this one back at you immediately, coming off of you picking George Pickens last week and make you answer it first. But this one is, I won't make you do it. This one is tough. I go back and forth on this one. We talked about Pickens earlier this week, and he stresses me out because I know the potential is there for him in this matchup against Vegas. You want to target it again. Sorry, Fitz. I hate to talk about Vegas constantly. But at the same time, in any other situation, with the week that George Pickens has had from a crazy perspective, the writing on the face and everything, you know, we say, okay, if he's complaining, he's a diva wide receiver. They're going to feed him the ball to make him happy. But this is Arthur Smith. I have trust issues. He is pretty defiant in terms of going to get stuff like this. So maybe George Pickens' behavior this week makes Arthur Smith pivot away even more from him. So I kind of lean into Darnell Mooney on this one.
I think I'll go on the Pickens side. Look, he's going to have these moments where the effort is not what you want. He's going to be, you know, in the crosshairs of Mike Tomlin and the coaching staff, regardless of what they want to say. Clearly something weird is going on there, but they do need to get this guy going. I think Justin Fields played a little bit better than the stats would indicate against Dallas. And as you mentioned, very friendly matchup. So we're split on that one. We agree on the first two. We're split on that one. So we'll see if George Pickens or Darnell Mooney can come through for people here in week 6. With that, let's throw it to Andy and Fitz with a little bit of players you got to lock in your lineup this week.
All right, Andy, make us all brilliant with some lock it in as we look at somebody that you're looking at saying, hey, press the button, lock it, gonna be good.
Listen, brilliant is a high standard. I don't know that I can live up to that. But I did make the people feel bad about the Buffalo backfield earlier. So I'll try to give you a little bit of a pep talk on Josh Allen, who obviously has a difficult matchup. And yes, his receiving core is a little bit weird and undermanned. But Khalil Shakir at least returned to a limited practice on Saturday, so that gives him some hope. And yeah, the Jets' pass defense among the best in the league. They allow 5.8 yards per attempt, a passer rating against of just 73.1. But the whole point of drafting Josh Allen where you did is that you'd never have to think about the QB position except during his bye. I'm not a total start your studs guy, but I would always play this guy. Allen had 15 rushing touchdowns last year. I'll just remind people of that. We're not talking about Jared Goff here. We're not talking about Kirk Cousins. Allen can help you in multiple ways. And this feels like a classic, you know, put the team on your shoulders kind of situation. And again, a Shakir return would mean so much to this offense in terms of their ability to sustain drives.
All right, give me one more that you've got your eye on that you want to lock in.
Oh, I'm here to put a smile on your face, Fitz, at the end of the show and tell everyone that Brock Bowers needs to start, just flat out needs to start. He gets Pittsburgh this week, obviously a respectable defense, but Bowers just put up 97 yards and a touchdown at Denver. That's pretty good defense too. He was targeted 12 times as well. Bowers is now the overall tight end 2 on the season, and that is despite being tied to a less than ideal quarterback situation. He's just plainly one of the right answers at a position that has not had very many of them this year. Also, the Davante Adams situation means targets are pretty much locked in regardless of opponent. And this week, no Jacoby Myers either. Bowers is now leading his position in receptions and targets on the season. He's a pretty good bet to actually hold those leads for the rest of the year.
Yeah, my only concern is will Aiden O'Connell be able to stand up long enough to actually throw him the football? Okay, huddle everybody up. It's time to bring us together for Hurry Up Offense. Getting your questions in with 25 seconds on the clock. We know that Matt and Tera are feeling rested. We'll let Matt go first on this one. Jason says, ask FFL. Need 2. Standard scoring. Tolbert, McConkey, Downs, Pierce, or Wicks. What do you think?
Yeah, I really believe in the post-bye rookie bump for Ladd McConkey. I think he's great on film so far. Clearly should be the #1 target there in the Los Angeles offense going forward. He should avoid the tougher coverage on the outside. He's my #1 start here. Downs, I think, is #2 for all the reasons I mentioned at the top of the show. Very, very good player.
Got it in just before the whistle. Steven asks, ask FFL, Shakir, Olave, McConkey, and Mooney. I got room for 2. What do y'all think? Please and thank you, by the way. Love the show. Tara, we appreciate anyone that's as nice as Steven. What do you think?
Well, I do like McConkey. I lean towards Olave and Mooney on this one. We just talked about Mooney having the high upside and been very reliable. Chris Olave, obviously a lot going on with that quarterback situation, but still start worthy here.
All right, next one, Tibetan Mastiff. I don't know what that means, like a Mastiff that meditates. Ask FFL, standard scoring, starting CeeDee, benching Downs, need 1 wide receiver. Jameson Williams, WanDale, Tolbert, and should I switch any of them with my flex of Tyrone Tracy? Andy Behrens, this is a novel. What do you think?
Oh, I'd love to get a 150-word question and hurry up offense. I don't want to say anything bad about Tyrone Tracy because I thought he looked awesome last week. I thought he looked really good, but I would play Jameson Williams here. That's where the upside is.
That was a Will Howard level of clock management. My friend Rick comes in and says 0.1 PPR. Ohio State joke, guys. Look it up. Need 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Cook, Williams, Sermon, Ford, Wilson, Johnson, McLaurin, Ask FFL, Matt Harmon. You got all that?
Yeah, furious that you put Jay Williams in this. That is a cardinal sin. We're going with McLaurin. We're going with Deontay Johnson. We're going with Garrett Wilson. And then the running back, I guess, is Trey Sermon.
Maybe if we hadn't made such fun of him for putting that initial in, we would have gotten it in time. All right, let's go to YouTube. Bruno Hernandez on YouTube says, help with an exclamation point, which gets you right in. Tank Dell or Jaden Reed, DJ Moore just sold me. Tara, what do you think?
Oh, man, it's got to be Jaden Reed. I know last week was a little bit underwhelming here, but this is a fantastic matchup. He's been electric all season, so absolutely lean into Jaden Reed, even though Tank Dell could have a high upside opportunity here with Nico out.
All right, Andy, you get the next question coming in from YouTube. This one from YouTube comes from Costa Baronis, who says, full PPR, Eckler or Pittman at flex. What do you think, Andy?
Oh, man, what a journey it's been for Pittman this week, right? From back injury might go on IR to he's fine and is going to play. I'm gonna go Eckler here. Again, I just think he's looked awesome this season. I think he's going to be heavily involved as a receiver.
All right, look at that. With time to spare, we all regroup and we get ready for the next question coming in from Brandon. Brandon, give us the next question. It says, ask FFL, ride with Josh Allen or Cousins? What do you think, Matt Harmon?
Oh, God. I don't know, man. What does your heart tell you? What does your gut tell you? I think Josh Allen's probably going to be fine.
His heart tells him to ask the expert.
No, enough with the word expert. You people know just as much as I do. Trust yourself. I'd probably play with Josh Allen, but do whatever you want.
Right, the next one comes from James. Do whatever you want. James, that's what we're going to call this segment from now on. Do whatever you want, quickly. Hashtag Ask FFL, half PPR, Sermon, D-Hop, Coops, Slayton, Tara, what do you think?
Listen to your heart. No, Trey Sermon has the upside here. We're just choosing one, I assume, here. So Trey Sermon, volume, hopefully goal line opportunities with Joe Flacco now at quarterback.
I don't think we can afford the licensing, but I now want Roxette, Listen to Your Heart, to play during this entire segment. Mark says, half PPR, Dobbins, Tracy, Sermon, or Gibson. Need 2, Ask FFL. Andy Behrens, I'll just ask 1. What do you think?
Oh, man, I love the way Mark runs the waiver wire in his league. That's where all of these players came from at some point. That's awesome. I'm playing Dobbins. He's looked great. I'm also playing Tracy. He just looked absolutely fantastic last week, and he gets that Bengals defense that you can pretty much do whatever you want to.
All right, Harmon, the next question comes in from Why Am I a CPA? Probably because you love numbers. It's a good way to make a living. Need a flex. Dowdle, Amari, Najee. What do you think, Harmon?
I'll tell you what, our heart definitely does not tell us to play Najee Harris here. Man, I think I'm going to go with Rico Dowdle in this spot. Again, pretty good odds for a touchdown, high-scoring game. He did touch the ball a ton. He looks like he is, for whatever it's worth, the Cowboys' top running back. Amari just too volatile at this point.
The next question, Tara, comes from Sir William. I do not know if he's actually been knighted, but we'll presume he has. Bench 1, Olave, Shaheed, Ford. What do you think?
Oh, this is tough because Ford hasn't shown upside, and do you really want to play two New Orleans receivers there with Spencer Rattler and tie yourself 100% into that? I don't think so. I think I would bench Rashid Shaheed. We know Rattler does have the deep ball, but maybe it takes some time to kind of get up to speed at the NFL level. So bench Shaheed.
The next one comes from Bradley Clayton. Downs or Dell? Simple question, complicated answer. Andy Behrens, what do you think?
Man, I would really like to get a good game from Tank Dell before I rolled him out there. I think Josh Downs has looked awesome. Great sign that he was able to return to practice late in the week. I think it's really good for him specifically that Joe Flacco is going to get the start and not Richardson. So I'm going to lean Downs here, which feels a little weird. Dell was great last year. We haven't seen it yet this season.
All right, I like this question from X34 on YouTube. X34 is asking, Javonte Williams or Trey Sermon? Thanks. What do you think, Harmon?
Jeez, man, I think we're going Trey Sermon here. It's a total volume play. I just don't trust Javonte Williams as the clear running back one in Denver. I just think there are too many trap doors to fall through there. The Chargers defense is also sneaky, been awesome this year. Again, Titans defense is pretty good too, but it looks like Trey Sermon's the trusted guy in Indy behind Jonathan Taylor.
What I know is that we're back every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, to get you caught up for Thursday Night Football. And we're here every single Sunday from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern with all of your answers. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. On behalf of everybody that works their tails off behind the scenes, does great work making the show happen. He's Andy Behrens. He's Matt Harmon. She's Tera Roberts. I'm Jason Fitz. Thank you for watching Fantasy Football Live, presented by Ram Trucks. May every one of your teams score record numbers this weekend.